So before we get into like telling the ghost stories, I did want to tell you guys a little bit about the neighborhood we're in, so you guys can get a feel for the history that we're talking about. Obviously, we know we're in Memorial Park. The full name and official name of this park is actually Veterans Memorial Park. It is built as a memorial to the veterans, the El Paso veterans of all the various wars. And when this park was first built, it actually had a tree for every soldier lost. So it's kind of poignant as you look around and think about that. It's something that not a lot of people know about the park, or, you know, we know it's a beautiful park with lots of gorgeous trees, but there's a deeper symbolism of why these trees are here. And that's kind of like what we like to expose and explore, is the history beneath everything that you see here in your community. So like I said, when this place was first planned and conceived, it was meant to be a beautiful neighborhood park. It was actually designed to mimic a California park, like those beautiful parks you see in Balboa with the rolling hills and the bridges and the trees. And as you guys can see, they did a great job getting that vibe and that feel. We've got a really nice view. You can see the cityscape behind you, the sun setting behind the mountain. They couldn't have picked a better place. But we do, in paranormal terms and in history as well, we do like to talk a little bit also what was here before. Because to us, when you get into the paranormal or the folklore, it's basically like layers. Layers built upon layers. And that's what we like to get into. And I will point out, for those of you who haven't noticed, I'm all excited. Yes, there's bats flying above us. If you guys keep an eye out, you'll see there's one right there, little bats flying around. We love bats around here, so we love seeing the bats. Every time we do this, every year on the bridge, we have bats. Now, to tell you guys a little bit about what was here before, this mountain, way before there was anything settled here, we sometimes talk about a topic that we might call mysteries of the mountain. Just because we find a lot of interconnected things that tie together with our Franklin Mountains that can be strange, interesting, or even paranormal. And so that's something we researched into, and this particular portion of the mountainside is interesting because long before we had this neighborhood here, going back to around 1899, what was here before was a smeltery. It was called the Federal Copper Company. That might sound a little bit familiar to you as you were driving in. You drive through Federal Street, right? Copper Street. We've got Silver and Gold Streets as well surrounding us here in the neighborhood. The reason for that is those were literally named as reminders and remnants of what this used to be. So in that 1899, you know, into the going into the 1900s era, we had this big smeltery here, and they would break down all kinds of minerals and materials. That was going on for about close to 10 years. They had a lot of issues with that because there was different materials that would leak down the mountain. They had issues, business problems with the company as well. There was a myriad of things going on. So by 1908, that company had to close down. So it was here for, like I said, around 10 years, mining this side of the mountain. Now, why I say that's interesting is because if you get into paranormal theory, like how many of you guys like to watch the ghost shows, like Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures, right? If you do watch those, you might have heard the theory that certain minerals, certain elements, stones, metals, can be conductors of paranormal energy. Or, you know, any kind of energy, really. So when you get into studying all that and you figure that you're on a mountainside that is rich with those type of minerals and deposits that are said to transfer and kind of amplify paranormal energy, then all of a sudden it makes more sense why you might have haunted neighborhoods or interesting vibes or feelings in certain locations. So that's certainly something we take into account when we look into the neighborhood, the history, we look into the terrain. And like I said, you know, these things here, the actual earth that's beneath our feet. It has a lot more to do with these kind of things than what you would think about. Now, when the smeltery did close, like I said, it was around 1908. By 1912, they had decided that they needed to clear all of that out. It wasn't very sightly, as you can imagine. This is such a beautiful section of mountainside. They decided this needs to be improved. And so, around that time, they started to buy up these plots of land and reshape this neighborhood. So by 1912, you had the beginnings of this park and all these streets. And by 1914, the neighborhood was officially open for people to purchase homes. So this neighborhood is well over 100 years old. There's quite a lot of history here all around us and underneath us as well. Now, you know, when you talk about hauntings and stuff, people always ask us about this neighborhood. Right now, it's very, very moody for telling these kind of stories, especially. We've got like these dark clouds that came about, right? So it's almost like it's setting the scene. There's a couple of places here in the neighborhood and around the park that are said to be haunted. The first one I can think of right off my top of my head, that's the first one that comes to mind, is the Mabel Welch house. Now the Mabel Welch house is actually overlooking us right now. It's over there looking down on us. It's right over here behind this hill. Now we can't really see it very good because these trees right here are blocking our view. For those of you that are down here at the end of the bridge, if you look straight through, you can actually see a peek of it. It's the house up there on that hill with the green roof. And if you guys want, when we're all finished and we're all done with the stories, if you'd like, I'll walk up there with you guys and point it out to anybody that wants to see it a little closer, okay? But that's like the haunted house of this neighborhood. Now, Mabel Welch was like a really fascinating woman. I don't know if you guys heard, yesterday I got the exciting opportunity to be on Kiss FM in the morning. They wanted me to come, me of all people, to come and talk about women's history, but some of our little unique takes on the history aspect of it. So one of the people we were talking about that we did bring up throughout the conversation was Mabel Welch. Mabel's a very fascinating El Pasoan.